welcome to another episode of ATO Opportunity. This is your regular host, Jose, and with me, as always, Andrew.
I'm not even real. I'm just an AI caught in the machines.
Oh no!
I was never here.
I knew it. You were too smart for your own good.
No, not that. Definitely not that.
All right, let's at least roll the music.
So after that brutal assault by the Orc warrior, the initiative now goes to you. Jose, what do you do?
I'm gonna cast
And we're back. All right. Woo! All right. Welcome to ATO Opportunity, a podcast all about RPGs and tabletop RPGs and tables and books and movies and video games and everything nerdy in between.
Currently, big robots and computers.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Today we're talking about a game that we ran once and we had a blast with and completely forgot about until recently. Because we ran it before it even launched.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how cool is that? We are talking about Cyberpunk Red. Whoa.
Weirdly, our most successful episode.
Yeah. For some reason, like, it gets the most views on YouTube. That's right. We have a YouTube, so make sure to please follow us there.
It's really just like a dump for like all of our back catalog.
Well, You said, but it started as a catalog dump, but now since I started streaming on YouTube as well,
That's true.
we've been getting like people on there, and like our subscribers keep going up. So hey, you never know.
I'm just saying we got a big blow up from doing niche RPGs, like just talking about it. Maybe we should start playing some.
Eventually we will. But before we get going with this today's topic, let's talk about what we're drinking. Andrew.
I am drinking a Foxtail coffee cold brew straight from the bottle.
I love me Foxtail.
I also love a good Foxtail, and I went there yesterday, and it was like ass to elbows. And
I bet.
And the thing about it was that because I had a Foxtail coffee gift card, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna swipe this, and then the guy's like, oh well, let me pull up your balance, see how much you have left, and like the line keeps building. So I start to feel anxious for the guy. He goes, that's weird, I can't see it. I'm like, don't worry about it, man, it's cool, you know what, you're good.
Dude, that happens to me all the time, especially when Kristen wants to use like her reward points or like whatever for the store, wherever we're going, and then it's not loading or something, and I'm like, just pay the full amount, I don't care, let's just go.
Like, come on. It's fine. I'm like, don't worry about me, man, just get the line. He's like, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry. Like, no, you're fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah, he probably didn't even give a shit.
No,
you know, he's like there all day.
But I just, as someone that's been on the other side of the counter, like I see that line building, just like sweat starts rolling down my temples and stuff.
Oh man. I'm drinking. I'm keeping it kind of balanced. Well, not balanced, but like kind of simple. I am drinking a Ghost Warheads energy drink today. Look at those colors.
I'm keeping it balanced. I'm only having a Ghost Warhead. If I was really great, maybe having a rain or something like that.
At least it's not a rain. And then I'm having water for the hydration.
There you go.
Yeah.
One of these days, we just gotta have a Bang energy and just get like the worst possible flavor we could think of. Like,
yeah. You know what's the worst thing about Bang right now is that they actually taste pretty good. Like I got like the unicorn farts, whatever color it was, and I'm like, you know, ha, funny. And then I taste it. Oh wow, that's actually different.
Have you had the birthday cake one?
No.
It is straight vanilla extract. It is the worst fucking thing I've ever tasted in my whole life.
That is not the flavor I want from an energy drink. Not vanilla. Why?
It is not. And I got it on a dare, and I'm like, no, I gotta finish this. I paid like $2.50 for it, so I gotta finish this.
All right. So, Cyberpunk. Andrew.
Pew, 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 pew.
What did you know about the dark future of cyberpunk.
Besides the fact that we're living in it.
Yeah, you know, the more I researched, the more I realized that
like we're in it.
Yeah, this is it. Maybe we don't have like the tactile cyberware that they have, but you know, we're in it.
Yeah,
we're in the dark times.
I saw a Twitter post where it's like, man, I wanted my cyberpunk corporations to be like Tyrell Industries, not Google.
Yeah. Or Facebook, or Meta.
Or, I mean, say one thing. At least Elon Musk got it right. Like, this is X.
Yeah. Yeah, he just forgot to check the copywriting, the trademarking,
literally everything else. He was too worried about making a cyberpunk.
Yeah. Yeah, so you know he got it right. He also looks like they all look like evil villains, honestly.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which is kind of crazy. Yeah, you want your lizard people evil villain, or you want your like super muscular evil villain? Like which?
Okay, so
they're both scary as fuck.
All right, so going back to the original question, you asked me what I know about Cyberpunk. Are you talking about the game or the genre?
In general.
Okay, so
what's your knowledge?
So I know it takes place relatively close into the future. Like the trope is like 15 minutes in the future, where like we haven't quite established a utopia yet. So there's a lot of mega corporations.
Yeah.
And like everything, like the aesthetic looks cool, but then once you dig like even an inch below that aesthetic, you see how grimy and seedy and desperate people are.
Yep. You nailed it. That's Cyberpunk.
Yep.
All right, let's wrap it up.
and then
see you guys next episode of What's Up.
All right, so on to IPSN for Lancer. IPSN gets started. No, actually, what was it? Didn't the creator of the Cyberpunk game said like it's supposed to be a warning, not an end goal to reach?
Yeah. Yeah, Mike's Puntsman. All right, anyway, so I started. I started.
By the way, that dude has like a golden voice. I love listening to that guy.
Oh yeah, he sounds so fucking cool. He also looks pretty cool too.
Anyway,
he always has his sunglasses and like he's like fucking straight shooter type of guy. Anyways,
like he definitely goes on the small list of people I just want to whisper sweet nothings to me while I go to sleep. You know, like that dude could read the phone book to me. Totally
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
hold on. So a phone book is something from way back when.
Oh my god. for all of you young whippersnappers.
Yeah,
So I wanted to make an episode about Cyberpunk after Andrew killed it with the Lancer episodes. I'm like, I want to talk about the game that I like. So I started watching videos and doing some reading and Wikipedia, and I'm like doing this dive. Like 5 days later, I have like chain smoking cigarettes and up in front of my 3 screens, just doing endless research. To the point that I realized I was doing too much research. But I did find it interesting that the parallels with history and with our present and our future, because Cyberpunk is, like you said, it is not a 5,000 years in the future or 10,000 Warhammer type style. It is literally like 20 years in the future.
Yeah, like
ew, it's just a parallel timeline.
Yeah,
2 hours.
Like we will probably see this in our lifetime, and we will wish we hadn't. Ooh,
yes.
whoa, what is this?
Whoa, it is a visual presentation.
Whoa.
Welcome. Hi, I'm Jose Monsalve. This is my TED Talk, and I talk about Cyberpunk.
Now, if we see here the definition of Cyberpunk, click.
Yeah, I have like an old-timey clicker, and the sound goes on.
Oh God! Jose, vacation pics. I don't want to see.
Oh shit! Why? Why is that a trope? What does that come from? Anyways,
who knows? It was probably something that one guy did in the 50s, and everyone's like, "Oh, we got to copy it until the end of time."
Yeah, even until it's not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Cyberpunk is just a branch of science fiction. It is also criticized because it's not like a hard science fiction. It's more of like style science fiction. Like people who write cyberpunk don't really don't try to make accurate predictions. They just kind of like do cool shit. So they're the cool kids of science fiction, essentially.
I mean,
it is an exploration of the darker future, like you said.
Wait, hold on. How can this criticisms be? Because it's like a lot of the cyberpunk stuff that I see, it's like it's happening. Like
right.
It is actively happening.
More about the science part of it.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, you have The Expanse, right? And it's like renowned for like, oh, wow, yeah, the science. Like, if we had the technology, this would be exactly how it would be. This one's like, nah, bro, I have a computer in my brain.
I mean, okay. So some people have to understand we need narrative license.
However, Elon Musk is developing the computer in the brain. So,
oh my god, I cannot wait for all the fucking Jesus
spam.
Okay,
but like I said, these guys are the cool people of science fiction. They embrace the punk and hacking styles of like the late 80s, early 90s, and they go balls to the wall with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, so this is like. So never mind. Go on. I lost my train of thought as I was saying.
Yeah, and one of the other things is that one of the biggest themes in this world is the conflict between the haves and the have-nots.
What do you mean?
I'm glad I wrote that down. People who have the money and the technology, like there's no middle class. It's like the super uber rich who have everything, and then you and me.
Oh, okay. So class warfare to the extreme.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. More precisely, and more into what we're going to talk about today, it is the mega corporations having more power than like the government itself, right? And normal people like you and I having to go to the extreme to be able to keep up with what's happening and even make a living. And by that I mean implanting cyberware in our bodies in order to take on jobs that can kill us. Because if you have like a regular schmo Joe, job as a graphic designer or something, you're not gonna be doing too well in this world. You'll be poor shit. However, if you become what they call an edge runner / cyberpunk, then you become essentially a mercenary and you work for or against the megacorps, sometimes both. And that's when you get paid the big bucks. So if you want to make it in this world and you were not born into a corporation, then you are a cyberpunk. And then you gotta go to the extreme to try and get those jobs.
Personally, I feel like this is the biggest thing that a lot of people can't grasp when it comes to cyberpunk, because they're all like, "Oh man, like mega corporations and stuff, like blah blah blah, like secret security forces." Like, no, this is bad.
Yeah. This is
like the concept of like in the cyberpunk like game universe where a health insurance company will have its own private police force. Like, you realize this is bad, right?
Yep. It's all privatized. And like I said earlier, they have more power than the government itself. Sometimes they're like governmental identities. Not identities. What's the word that sounds like identity that I can't remember? Entities.
Okay.
Themselves. Which is obviously not good.
Yeah. Because
they will exploit the shit out of everything. And they do. That's what makes cyberpunk. One of the other bigger questions in this world is if you implant yourself so much with cyberware and you're hooked to the net and you're like, at what point do you become more than human, or are you even still human? Right? This is where the leading, there's two ways that this can go. Like you can either, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you can either become so entwined with the technology that you become part of the net or the internet or whatever you want to call it. Or you have so much cyberware inside of you that you can break into a cyber psychosis and become a fucking sociopath because your humanity is pretty much just gone.
So we're talking about transhumanism?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit of transhumanism.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ghost break.
All right. Now a little bit of history about the real world history of cyberpunk and where it comes from. Obviously, Philip K. Dick.
Dick. All right. Now we're talking.
Yeah. So I didn't know that he was one of the first ones. You know, like you think of H.G. Wells and stuff like that. This is kind of like the guy, but for Cyberpunk itself.
I mean,
This is even before the term cyberpunk was actually like coined and brought to the mainstream.
right.
You know, the cool story that I learned about this is that while he was researching or doing research for the Men in the High Castle, he was reading the journal of a concentration camp guard who was complaining about the sounds of children starving, the screams and cries of children crying were keeping him awake at night. But he wasn't complaining in the sense that he felt bad and he needed like some therapy. No, he just wanted them to shut up so he could go to sleep. More of an more of like a So this is when like the idea of an android first came into our world by Philip K. Dick, a robotic person who is detached from empathy itself. So if you think of Android, this is where it comes from.
I mean,
Philip K. Dick.
that makes sense. It's a purely logical, cold, humanless. Yeah. What better fucking jumping off point than that?
Yeah. Once again, World War II, it brought us technology and advancements in human literature, just like you know, in
Just like
out of the darkest times.
just
Whatever you say.
Well, it's there's a famous quote from a movie called The Third Man where a guy says something along the lines of like, you know, the Dutch have never experienced a war in the past 300 years, and what's their greatest invention? The cuckoo clock. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. Another one of the most notable books by Philip K. Dick is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And that will come in, you know, obviously in a couple of minutes.
Well, I know why, but I'll keep the audience in suspense.
Yeah. Here are some examples of very early raw cyberpunk. By raw, I mean this is before the style or like the heavy stylized cyberpunk that we know now got into play. Colossus, The Forbidden Project. I didn't know about this movie. I kind of want to watch it now. It's essentially Skynet. They develop an AI. This is back in like the 60s, like late 60s, early 70s. They develop an AI to help with the world or whatever, and the AI just kind of like, oh wow, there's weapons and stuff, and you guys suck, so I'm gonna protect you from killing yourselves and blow you up.
Okay.
So pretty standard.
Yeah. I mean, now it's pretty bog standard.
Yeah. One of the other big ones is Westworld. I haven't seen the original, but I've seen the HBO remake show, which is excellent in my opinion. And this one dives deeper into.
Sorry, go on.
No, keep going.
No, the original Westworld is really good. It's like a proto Terminator, where it's like we have an unstoppable killing machine.
which is crazy because, like, you know, while I was reading about this, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so familiar with all these terms, but like this is like in the like 71 or whatever when this came out. Like they didn't even have blue or green screens. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So Westworld, if you guys are familiar with it, this one explores like, oh, it's a theme park with androids, and you can, you know, have all kinds of pleasures with them, both sexually and violent with them. You know, and nobody can tell you otherwise. And then they develop conscience, and they're like, I can't take this anymore. I'm gonna kill all the humans. So it kind of explores that, like, when do androids become so advanced that they have empathy and become closer to human. Leaping into that is Blade Runner.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Wait, which cut?
Obviously, the original theatrical release cut with the voiceover.
Sorry, stop the presentation. Oh God, the voiceover cut. Oh no!
Throws tomatoes at the webcam.
Not the voiceover cut. That's the worst one.
I didn't even know that existed until I was doing the research for this, and I watched it. I'm like, oh God.
I saw just the opening scene with the voiceover cut, and I wanted to fucking barf.
Well, what I didn't know is that Harrison Ford didn't believe in that cut, so like he recorded the voiceover like half-assed because he didn't want him to use it, so he just did a really bad job with it.
Yeah.
And they used it.
Oh man. You know, and there was probably someone who's like, well, you know, he's supposed to be like a burnt out detective, so it kind of works. Like, no, he doesn't care.
Yeah. Oh god, it was so bad. No, I watched the Ultimate Edition. I forgot which one it's called. I talked to you about it.
Thank God.
Anyhow.
Thank God for Rutger Hauer. Like,
Yeah. No shit. Anyways, but Blade Runner is essentially an adaptation of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, where they explore the same idea of do androids have souls. You know, they have this complicated text. I forgot what it's called. The test that they do to ask a question. So it's like the Turing test, but the opposite of it. Anyways, excellent movie. If you haven't seen it, it is like the foundation of modern cyberpunk. Excellent movie.
it's I particularly like Blade Runner because it really does, like, it kind of makes you draw a line, like, where does humanity start?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like from that little seed, that's where me personally, I think a lot of this like cyberpunk stuff, and especially sci-fi, just blew up from.
Correct. Correct.
Also, it's called the Voight-Kampff test.
The Voight-Kampff test. Yeah.
So.
They're just trying to get like a you know, when humans will have an emotional reaction, the androids would have to calculate that, and that's how they find them out. Whatever, they kill them. You know. Also, during the late 80s, early 90s, there was like that population boom in our real world, which sparked a lot of fears of overpopulation, which is kind of what happened. But, you know, people were thinking that like the world was going to end because there were so many people on it, which it kind of is. But, you know, that's for another episode. And that sparked a lot of like, what would happen if a lot of people lived in a city? And mega cities came in along the lines of mega corporations, which that's why we have Judge Dredd here. Excellent comic, and the movie adapted in 2012. I think it came out.
Yeah,
2012.
yeah. Don't worry about the Sylvester Stallone one. The Carl Urban one all the way.
Yeah. Oh god, so good. Like if you want to run Cyberpunk, just watch that. Take some notes. You'll be just fine. But it deals with, you know, what happens with overpopulation, mega cities, mega corporations. What happens when we don't have enough police to take care of all of that? And along the same lines, RoboCop came along, where do you have I forgot that corporation in RoboCop that is trying to like, it's playing for both the cops and it's trying to benefit from like the cops and the bad guys, whatever. Same thing. Big corporation, and I think specifically in RoboCop 2, they tried to privatize the whole city, which is crazy. I think that was it didn't do too well, but whatever. Some examples of raw cyberpunk.
Yeah, I love particularly Dredd. Like RoboCop, there's obviously a lot of nuance about, you know, corporations privatizing police forces, stuff like that. But I particularly like Dredd because it shows the militarization of police in order to expedite like judgment and stuff like that. You know, just be like, okay, no, we need results right the fuck now. Like we don't have time to process this and whatnot. And blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. And the crazy part is that, what was it? The statistic? It was like, in the world of Judge Dredd, they can only deal with like 0.4% of the actual crime, even though they had that ability to like be judge, jury, and executioner all at once. Yeah, that's crazy.
So I mean, it just goes to show just like how awful the Dredd universe is.
Yeah. And then, but what brought it to the mainstream, Andrew? Well, that will be our friend William Gibson.
Okay.
Which I have his books over here staring at me in the face because I haven't read them yet. Eventually, I'll get to them. But imagine this. You're writing your cyberpunk book after you got inspired by the movie Tron because it came out and it was the best visualization of the cyber or the net or the internet or whatever. And as you go to the movie
Tron?
Tron was a huge inspiration for William Gibson.
Okay.
And I mean, think about it. It was a revolutionary movie for the time. It was the special effects of.
I mean, okay, yeah,
of that time.
Okay, aesthetically, yes, I understand.
Yeah, aesthetically.
I don't think Tron had any like overt political messages.
No. More, no, just stylistically. Okay. And if you pay attention, this is kind of like how this inspired him to envision how the net would work in his books, how the internet. I'm gonna be going between net and internet because he coined net, like he developed this before the internet became what the internet is, what it is to us. Like,
okay,
William Gibson is what he's the one who put it down. I don't know if it was the first time, but he was the one who popularized it.
Now, see, I have proof that Al Gore actually And
Oh my God, get out of here.
you can't judge me. You said you watched the voiceover cut of Blade Runner.
Oh man. All right. So, imagine this: you're writing your book that you got so inspired to write, right? Your Neuromancer. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. And then your buddies invite you to, hey, let's watch this movie. It has Harrison Ford in it. Let's go to the movie theaters. And you go there and you watch the first 20 minutes of Blade Runner, and you're like, fuck. People are gonna think that I stole this.
I mean, you know, it wouldn't be the first time that like two people came to a completely you know, logical conclusion. Yep. So
it is. We stand on the shoulders of giants, isn't it? Like it's just a thing that happens all the time, over and over again. But anyways, he developed Neuromancer, which is one of the most famed books when it comes to cyberpunk in general. Like if you want to get into it, you have to read it. It is on my list. He also coined a lot of the terminology associated with cyberpunk. Some of the examples that I have here is decking, which we'll go into in a little bit. The street samurai.
Please tell me we'll go into that.
Well, a little bit.
because I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, street samurai, cyberspace, and more importantly, which I thought was really cool, this is in 1988, by the way, intrusion countermeasure electronic, or ICE. Which is like a huge thing in Cyberpunk, like the game itself.
I actually just recently learned about BlackICE in Cyberpunk, and it scares me.
Yeah. So his three major books that kind of like the main trilogy for him is Neuromancer, Count Zero, and Mona Lisa Overdrive.
Okay.
Haven't read them. I bought the set. Is there staring at me. I will read him one day. But this guy is what brought it. He was just like an underground hit. At this point, cyberpunk and even sci-fi was not doing too hot in the mainstream either. When this book came out, it was like, if you were a cool, well, quote unquote, cool science nerd in the 80s, you would read this. Like, this was the it thing to do.
I love this little head canon that I have, where you have people like Orson Welles and shit, and no, not Orson Welles. What am I thinking of?
Yeah, Frank Herbert.
yeah, Frank Herbert and all stuff, and like they're like the normal like sci-fi people. Meanwhile, you have like the Neuromancer guys. So
yeah, they have like a leather jacket with like little studs. Like, smoking cigarettes in the library while reading their books.
Yeah, Philip K. Dick's like, hey, you want to buy some drugs? Actually, wait, didn't we establish that Frank Herbert was the bad boy of sci-fi before?
At one point, yeah. Well, because we were comparing him to like even older people.
Yeah, not Orson Welles. Who am I thinking of? Who's the guy that wrote I, Robot? Fuck.
Oh, Asimov.
Yeah, Isaac Asimov. Orson Welles is a fucking actor. Anyways, go on.
Yeah. Oh, I think you're thinking H.G. Wells.
Yeah, I am thinking of H.G. Wells, but he's like been dead. So, yeah, now we're talking.
Let's talk about actual cyberpunk, like the game.
Yeah. Okay, blah blah blah. Yeah. We got the context out of the way. That's great.
So in your head canon, you have like the nerdy pocket, the nerdy pencil pocket protector over here reading like H.G. Wells and all these guys, and then you have like the edgy punks over here reading William Gibson and Philip K. Dick, and in one of those guys is the only black guy here is Mike Pondsmith, sitting there cool, being the coolest of all of them, because he was brought up in this era and he loved it so much that he decided to make it into a tabletop game. Because around this time, Dungeons and Dragons was very popular in the underground, because, you know, the scare. Woo.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But what? Late 80s. Early 80s?
Yeah. No. Or early. Well, it started in the early 80s. The first one was published in 1988.
Okay, so
but
yeah, so we were well within the satanic panic by then. Okay.
Yeah, correct. So Walter John Williams was one of his favorite novelists, and he loved Hardwired Overdrive, I think is what it was called, so much that he decided to like bring it into a game, and he even got Walter John Williams to come in and playtest the game itself.
Holy
The first
shit.
edition of Cyberpunk was released in 1988, and it was just called Cyberpunk. However, now we refer to it as Cyberpunk 2013 because that's the year that it took place in canon.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
So Just real quick, I'm noticing here from the naming conventions, it doesn't go by like Cyberpunk 2E or something like that. It goes by
No.
like, okay, all right.
Titles. It's by titles, yeah.
I can dig that.
Yeah. Then there was Cyberpunk V3.5.
Okay.
I can't remember if it's between Cyberpunk Red and Cyberpunk 2020 or Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk Red, because it was so hated. This was the 4th edition of Cyberpunk. It was so hated that it essentially got wiped from the internet.
Whoa, really?
Mike Pondsmith quite literally connected himself into the net and just deleted it. Like you can't find it. I found like what could be one of the covers for that one, but it was like a weird pixelated mess.
Why was it so hated?
I don't know. It just nobody mentions it. It's barely in like the Wikipedia. Like I was like, okay, cool. So it was like it was also like a in between step type thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't like a full release. It was weird.
Oh, okay.
However,
So it was like a beta that like died on the vine.
I think so. I think so. Yeah. Then we have in 1990, Cyberpunk 2020, which took place in Cyberpunk in the year 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then from 1990 all the way to 2020, literally like 3 years ago, Cyberpunk Red was released.
Okay, how cool is that in 2020 you release an update to Cyberpunk 2020? How was that planned?
Probably.
Do you think?
Also, well, yeah, I think so, because the Cyberpunk 2077 game was supposed to come out in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't, but it was supposed to. So I think they were playing off of that whole thing.
Right.
And then the one in 2020, which is the current one, Cyberpunk Red, takes place in 2045. So again, near future, like you said earlier, not actual future. Like this is 12 years from now. Like I'm still gonna be alive. They're gonna release Cyberpunk whatever at that point.
I mean, and the thing about it is that if you keep your pulse on, if you keep your finger on the pulse of like medical technology and stuff, like I can see some of this stuff honestly happening, you know?
Yep.
like I mean, like granted, we might not be able to like, you know, jack into the net or any crap like that. Well, I don't know, maybe.
Well, I mean, with the cyber, I forgot what Elon Musk called it, the cyber brain tumor thing that he's developing. Like it sounds so intriguing, but I don't want that in my brain. That's so weird.
Man, I can't wait for people to quietly sweep that under the rug when they find out it gives you like horrible brain tumors or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's like that episode of Futurama when you get like ads in your dream.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck that. Anyway.
Also, the coolest thing about Cyberpunk is how it was created by Mike Pondsmith. Look at this guy. Look how cool he looks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of wanted to Photoshop his glasses so it wouldn't reflect the park. It would reflect like Night City.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's not, but you know what I mean.
He's taking one last look at nature before he sees it all get swallowed up by the concrete jungle. There's nothing wrong with that.
Fair. All right, so now we're in the world of Cyberpunk 2045. Cyberpunk Red. This is a 10,000 foot view of the timeline that has happened since the story first began in the game, all the way to what we're going to be playing for Cyberpunk.
Okay.
These are the major events, and one that I found very interesting, not necessarily super major, but it's still pretty important. I want you to keep in mind as I'm going through this, there's a lot of in-between things, including famine, government collapsing, fuel shortages, like all that kind of, imagine dystopian things. That's what's happening.
Okay.
In between all of this stuff.
All right.
1994. I think this started the game. Actually, the story in the game starts in 1988. I think it is like actual 1988.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1994, the two superpowers of the United States and the Soviets were caught manipulating the stock market.
Okay.
In response to this, the European Union were like, we're gonna make our own stock market with blackjack and hookers. And they did so.
Okay.
When they did that, the economy of the United States and the USSR collapsed. Two major powers in our world collapsed completely. So imagine all the countries that were attached to those two major powers and their economies just completely gone.
Oh my gosh.
Gone. At this point, a bunch of like corporations died, a bunch of countries caught on fire, like extreme economic collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Eurodollar was adapted because the dollar was worth so little, so little, that people just started using euro dollars everywhere because it was the most stabilized form of currency.
Yeah, the world power shifted away from America.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
In 2001, the net was invented.
Okay.
Think about this. William Gibson, and by extension, Mike Pondsmith, created the net in 1988. Without the internet being what it is now, or even a remote glimpse of what it is, at that point we had, I think, intranets like in colleges and stuff like that. Nothing to the level that we have right now. However, in this parallel universe, instead of being a text-based system like it is in our world, it is a visual system. So you have to jack into the net to see it, and it's a physical, virtual place that you can go.
Okay.
The most skilled people that can actually go through this space and find what they need to find and do what they need to do are called net runners. They're very skilled. Not everybody can do that. Most people use some sort of interface to kind of see what's happening.
Right.
Net runners can see into the internet.
So they so they're actually able to just freely travel the net without training wheels, essentially.
Correct. They're like Neo. They see the Matrix. They just
they are Neon, probably.
Yeah. Well, that too. But all the crap happens, and then in 2004, the first corporate war happens. There's 4 of them. The first one happens in 2004.
God, just the implication of first corporate war. Go on.
At this time, it was, if I remember correctly, EBM and something airs, orbital air.
Okay.
Yes.
What?
Orbital air. It's actually called orbital air.
What are those?
It was just a set. EBM is IBM, but in this world,
Okay.
EBM is like technology, whatever. And orbital air is just an airline.
Oh, okay.
It just simply started as, I want to buy that. Nope, I want to buy that. And they were trying to buy this one other airline who was going out of business, that simple thing. However, I think it was EBM who first decided that, like, you know what? Doing all this legal crap and all these, like, corporate style things, it's not working for me. I'm going to hire a group of mercenaries and have you take down your CEO or whatever. And that's exactly what he did.
So
for the first time in this history, it was viable to hire mercenaries and military personnel to do corporate wars instead of it being like, a bureaucratic thing. So imagine like when Xbox was trying to buy Activision. Right? And then Sony was like, I don't want to buy you that. And then Sony and Xbox hire a fucking military army to go against each other.
Yeah, to seize assets for. Okay, so we're
not just to seize, bro. Like bomb and destroy, like full on warfare.
So we're not even dealing with. We're taking the word corporate out of corporate espionage now. Like this is just
espionage. We're taking the espionage out of corporate warfare. There's no such thing as subtlety here anymore.
Oh man.
I think Orbital Air won that one. And for the first time the world saw that, holy crap, corporations can have a military.
Now here's the thing. I think this is going to be me putting on like tinfoil hat, but this kind of makes me think that this might have been the first time it was publicly known that a corporation can. No, I'm talking.
No.
What do you mean?
No. This was like the first time, like ever. Like even corporations, like all the corporations that were seeing this happen, they were like, "Wait, that's allowed?
Really?
I'm gonna hire my own military." Yeah.
Okay, because I've heard. Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or something like that, but it's like when you hear like some conspiracy theories about like corporate espionage and stuff like that, and people getting set up and being like suicided, you're like,
oh, in our world.
Yeah, that kind of tracks that Google would do something like that.
Yeah. But I like to think that more of like the CIA, FBI's of the world, not like the Wagner Group or like the, I don't know what other mercenary. That's the only one I know because of.
I mean, you don't mean to tell me that Monsanto doesn't have wet workers on their docket?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what's that?
Can you imagine? But But anyways, so a bunch of stuff happened in between 2006 when that war ended, and then 2008 where the second corporate war started.
God.
At this point, fossil fuels were becoming very scarce. So they had to find, people were trying to find better ways to like do this. So they developed something called SHOOH2. Did I write it down? No, I didn't write it down. Which is it's a new form of fuel, plant-based.
Okay.
You know, you still have to like drill for certain resources, but it's called SHOOH2 in this world. It's kind of important for like later on stuff. They don't call it gas, they call it SHOOH2.
Quick question. How big are these wars? Like
the first one was pretty much just like a group of mercenaries versus a group of mercenaries.
Okay.
Pew, 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 pew.
Okay.
Like, that's how.
So it was really more like a skirmish, not like a full blown like you know, bombing cities or anything like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Right.
So far.
Okay.
Then these two corporations, Sov Oil and Petrochem, were trying to find. I think one of them had like the patent for a way to drill for certain minerals that they needed. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to come to a deal to work together, and you know, I'll give you my patent and I'll give you some of my technologies and resources. We'll extract the minerals we need together. I think it was Petrochem who was trying to get the technology from Sev Oil, sorry. When their scientists were like, yo, we found a better way, faster, and more efficient way of doing this than what Sev Oil is doing. So Petrochem was just like, I'm out, and broke the deal last minute. This pissed Sev Oil off, of course. And this was, again, the second warfare. They're like, all right, how do we scale this up? They started destroying all of their oil extraction things, rigs. Yeah. So like billions and billions of gallons of oil, raw oil, got leaked into the oceans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they started using ships and actual armies to blow this up, bombings, and like they lost. I think it was like 85% of all of their resources in this war.
Oh my gosh.
Because they were like, you're not gonna play nice, then nobody's gonna play nice. This one ended with don't ask me details on this, but I thought it was interesting because I haven't kind of done the research on it. But like, apparently a Tycho space station dropped a rock on Colorado.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I'm having a weird thing where ever since I read about it in The Expanse, apparently that's a pretty
Tycho?
No. I'm talking about
the dropping rocks.
Apparently that's a pretty popular method in space warfare. Like, just drop some fucking rocks on them.
I mean, it makes sense, no? Like,
yeah, no,
they're just floating there. All you have to do is push them in the right direction.
But it just like opened up this Pandora's box. It was like, no, dude, just strap a rocket on a rock and you know, call it a day. You're done.
Yeah.
let gravity do the work.
Yeah, exactly. This one ended with Petrochem winning.
Okay.
And then they're deleting manufacturers of SHOOH2 or whatever the fuck is called in this world.
Okay.
Now, between the second and the third corporate war in 2013, something pretty epic happened. And this is when we started getting introduced into some of the major players and big characters and like legends of Night City, of this world. And it's a big short story called Never Fade Away.
Okay.
And the big premise of this is we have our hero, quote unquote hero, Johnny Silverhand.
Okay.
Keanu Reeves, and his girlfriend, Alt Cunningham, one of the best net runners in Night City, period. Who are having problems, they're going about their lives and so forth, when after a concert, they're walking out and Alt Cunningham gets extracted. And we'll go about that in a minute. Because she developed a program called Soul Killer. This Soul Killer V1.0 can kill people through the net. It was the first time that a program can just kill you straight up.
Oh shit. Okay.
Right? Yeah. So he gets extracted. Johnny Silverhand gets smoked and stabbed and almost dies. And then he seeks revenge against the Arasaka Corporation, which is where the people who took Al Cunningham. They are a defense contractor. They're a military. Yeah, exactly. The big deal about this is that he essentially was the first rocker boy. What that means is that he was so popular in this world because every piece of music in this world is it's an algorithm designed to pump out pro corporate and pro consumer music. So that's what the mainstream people get all the time. It's just AI generated music.
I mean,
corporations are good.
Is it really any different than what we're listening to right now?
Corporations are good. Buy more things, right?
Yeah,
and there's
consumerism.
Yeah. And then there's a subgroup of people, rocker boys, who try to get their music out there, which is really hard for them, obviously, because they cannot get signed or whatever. And the whole thing is, punk, anti-establishment type thing. However, he was the first actual rocker boy who was able to essentially riled up all his fans in front of the Arasaka. This was part of his plan. Just in front of the Arasaka headquarters and riot, creating just enough distraction for him and his team of a solo and a net runner to get into the Arasaka tower, fuck shit up, and try to rescue all Cunningham.
Wow, that's cool.
Well, yeah. So that's why music is very important in the cyberpunk world, and I'm gonna try to go into it a little bit later, but that's the big premise around it. While he was trying to rescue Al Cunningham, she was developing Soul Killer 2.0, which is essentially not only can it kill you, but it can extract your psyche and your mind for further interrogation in the net.
Okay, so we're getting some real Black Mirror shit here now.
Yeah. So for torturing in general. So Arasaka was making her do this. She knew they were gonna use her on her the minute she was done with it, so she tried to develop a couple other things as precaution. One of the major things that she developed is the ability to engram psyches into the net and have them live there forever.
As like a good thing, like a safe haven, or just.
I mean, it's if you're gonna die and you're gonna die. Do you want to die or do you want to be in the net?
Okay, all right.
So it's not really a good thing, but it's not a bad thing.
Right. No, I was just trying to understand like what her end game was with it.
Her end game was it was a fallback essentially. Okay. Like whoopsies, because she had another one of the netrunners called Spider Murphy, who she communicated with through the net, obviously, and gave her part of the Soul Killer code for her to extract her in a later date.
Okay.
Anyways, so Johnny Silverhand and his group of friends, guys, whatever, edge runners, are going up there. It's like a tower, blowing shit up. Meanwhile, Al Cunningham starts hacking the actual room where she's working and takes control of all the nodes and like defense turrets and like lasers and starts killing everybody around her, trying to save herself. As Johnny Silverhand gets up there, he sets up an explosion. And it's kind of like maybe he did not kill her by accident, by disconnecting her from the net without her probably coming back.
Oh, okay.
So he kind of knows, but he doesn't know. He feels it like he did it. We all know that he probably did it, but it's not quite sure. She was already an engram. Maybe Arasaka was already about to kill her. It's a very gray area. Anyways, this whole story is called Never Fade Away. You can probably read the whole thing for free out there. I don't know if it's true, but my gut reaction is that this was a cool tabletop session that they had.
That's probably exactly what it was.
And they put it into the story.
I mean, because if this doesn't sound like an adventure,
yeah.
I bet how many fan versions of this were made into like a tabletop session,
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of important though, because it's the first time that Johnny attacks Arasaka Tower.
Right. Now,
leave it at that.
Now, quick question. Before we go on, you may or may not know the answer, and if you don't, that's fine. But is Johnny Silverhand? Is it like a case like how in D&D we have like Mordekainen that was based on a player's character?
I actually don't know.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but
Yeah, and maybe if I do a little bit of research, I may be able to find out.
Okay.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
But anyways, bunch of other crap happens in between. 2016, the third corporate war, In this one, it's not as big because it's all in the net, and another net runner called Roach, Rage, whatever. I keep forgetting. I can't even remember his name. He comes in later. Essentially set up a virus called Data Crash and completely made. Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. No, he was part of the war, but at this moment he just destabilized the net and everybody's finances. So like nobody had money, everybody had money. It moved money. It just complete chaos.
Right.
After he did that, he went recluse, and that was kind of like the end of the corporate war. Nobody really won there. It was kind of like a mess. But it showed that now there's warfare in the net. Now we jump to 2022, where Cyberpunk 2022 takes place, and this corporate wars started with two smaller companies. Yeah, this is the fourth. This is the fourth corporate war.
They don't fucking learn.
No, they don't. So this one started with like two smaller companies to the point that they're so small we can't even remember the names.
Wow.
I can't. They're out there somewhere. But each one hired a defense contractor to like help them out. One of them hired Militech, the other one hired Arasaka.
Okay.
What was supposed to be impersonal between the two contractors became very personal, to the point that they were like, "What is this war about? I don't know." But that guy shot first,
Right?
And then you started going at it.
Just us versus them. You know.
Yeah.
We've been fighting this war for so long that blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't even matter what they were fighting about from the beginning. Like, oh, they don't even remember who hired them. They just started going at it. Arasaka already developed Soul Killer 2.0, and they were working on Soul Killer 3.0. Militech was like, we can't have that. That is way too dangerous. So I'm gonna hire a group of mercenaries to go in there and fuck shit up. Yep.
Quick question: what are the patch notes between 2.0 and 3.0? Like, oh, we fixed a bug where the Soul Killer will accidentally make you shit yourself. Or something
that's a good question.
Like Soul Killer 1.0. Like, okay, 1.0 kills them, 2.0 kills them and extracts them. Like, where do we need to go from there? You know?
I don't know, but I think that's the point. They never finished it because of what's about to happen.
Okay.
At this point, Militech hires a group of mercenaries. It was Johnny Silverhand, Black Hand, forgot his name, Spider Murphy, an Edge Runner, and a couple other people to go into Arasaka Tower, and they were gonna split the group. One of them was to extract Soul Killer. The other one was as a distraction.
So this is the second time they were going to Arasaka Tower.
Specifically Johnny Silverhand.
Okay, so Johnny Silverhand's like, oh shit, here we go, we're good.
Yep, pretty much. But this time it was more of like an actual military thing instead of like, oh, fuck you, corporations. Shit goes bad. They didn't know that Atom Smasher was in there. We're going to talk about Atom Smasher in a little bit. You've probably seen him in the promotional stuff for Cyberpunk 2077. Atom Smasher's like, that's Black Hand, I'm gonna fuck him up. So they go at it. They can't reach the Soul Killer. Things goes banana, and the fallback plan to this is for Johnny Silverhand to set off a pocket nuke in Arasaka. Okay. And he does.
Okay.
He sets up a pocket nuke in Arasaka Tower, and a couple of things happened. Nobody knows where Black Hand went. I forgot his first name. We're gonna talk about him, but he's one of the major players, or one of the legends of Night City. Nobody know if he won or lost, because if he would have been killed by Atom Smasher would have glowed. Atom Smasher almost died, but didn't, on a nuke. So that tells you how psychotic he is. Johnny Silverhand died, but he was engram into the net. So now he's an engram. Just like Alt Cunningham.
Okay.
And then the Night City Holocaust was set up. Night City is where everything takes place in this game. Almost everything. I mean, there's other settings out there, but Night City is like the big. It's the Sword Coast of Cyberpunk.
Right.
The Night City Holocaust is what it sounds like. It's just, it got so bad. It's a time of the red. It got so bad, so polluted that nobody could live in the city. That's where the fourth war ended. With Militech being victorious for obvious reasons. At this point, and then the hacker that was with them destroyed the net. So now we don't have a net, like a global net anymore. So everything's in chaos. Between 2025 and 2026, actually between 2026 and 2045, where the game takes place. It's essentially like not a time of peace at all. I don't want to make it sound like that, but people were slowly trying to save what was left of Night City.
Right.
So they're slowly cleaning. They're slowly bringing, coming into the city itself and rebuilding. Slowly but surely. By 2045, it's essentially a Night City, the old Night City, but it's like you can go anywhere. You can even go to where Arasaka Tower was, and there's a new Arasaka Tower there. The major thing here is that now we don't have a net like before. The old net has been gated off because it's too dangerous. And now we have local architectures around the city. What that means is that if you go into any building or anywhere, like if you're in, let me go put gas, and you go to a gas station, that gas station has a local network, like a local architecture network, that everybody that goes into it connects automatically.
Okay.
So the net is now just local.
Uh,
So if you want to get information from Arasaka, let's say your mission is to get information from Arasaka, you have to go to the Arasaka Tower and connect there.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. This was done mainly because in 2020, Edge runners were literally not part of the adventure. They were just like, I kind of ran that wrong when we ran that one off, because Howard was just kind of, and I'm going to explain this later on in the slides, Howard was just kind of like static, which is how 2020 was. The Netrunner would never really move. They would be doing their own side thing. Now they're forcing the Netrunner to actually be part of the action. That's why, mechanically, that's why.
Okay, so that was the justification. Like, no, you can't just sit here all day.
Yeah, you're gonna put you in danger.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. That's a good justification for like mechanical and narrative meshing. So
yeah. So that is the 10,000 foot view of the history of Cyberpunk. A lot of stuff to pull from for your adventures on there.
I'm genuinely curious, like, what is a pocket nuke? Like, is it like a nuke that's only meant to go off in like a proximity of like the building, or like?
Well, a pocket nuke just means that you can carry it. How powerful it is, it's just up to the technology.
So that's like, how is Night City not like washed in nuclear fallout?
That's what happened. That was between 2022 and 2045. It was just cleaning all that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Speaking of Night City, let's talk about Night City.
Yay!
So this is where like the everything takes place in. Like in the Sword Coast, we have like the spine of the world and like Fandelver and all these places. Everything here is literally just the city. It's just different sections of the city.
Right. Night
so
City looks like shit during the day.
It does look like shit during the day. Don't go outside during the day. So let's talk about a little bit of like the culture and what makes Night City Night City.
Okay.
And the first thing we're going to talk about is the people of Night City.
Now, where is quote unquote
Los Angeles?
Okay, all right. That I kind of figured as much.
Yeah. So let's talk about the people of Night City from top to bottom, from like the top of the hierarchy to the bottom of the hierarchy. We have what we call here power dealers. These are the most elite of the elite. Like there's elite, and then there's like these guys who are like in the shadows, and if you see them, they're like a god emperor,
right,
showing up. An example here real quickly we have is just it's like a family. This is the depiction of them in 2077, not 2045, but as an example, I have them here.
Right.
Again, these guys, they don't eat kibble, they eat real food. They're like, they don't live in they don't live in penthouses. They live in the clouds. Not really, but like you wouldn't even comprehend the amount of how detached from you they are.
Yeah. So these are the type of people where it's like, what even is money?
Exactly.
Like they're just like, we don't worry about that here.
Yeah, exactly. This is the people who like you have the president and then whoever's on top of the president.
Right.
Yeah. So
some real shadow government shit going on here.
Yeah. Then we have the corpos or corpsoders. These guys they work for corporations, obviously, as the name implies. But they are at the very top. They're the CEOs and the elite of the corporation itself.
Okay.
Below the power dealers. Not much higher that they can go. Oh, excuse me. not much higher that they can go, but like, I mean, they live rich houses and they don't have to worry about anything other than staying alive,
Okay.
which is actually pretty hard for a corporation.
Well.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing that there's a lot of emphasis on where they live, and like because it says here like they live in apartments but not penthouses. Is like verticality a symbol of status?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because imagine that we have mega cities. Who the fuck is gonna live at the bottom where like air doesn't flow?
Right. Okay. I just curious about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not necessarily like a hard rule. It's not like, you know, I mean, a power dealer can have like a beautiful oasis under the whole city that nobody can get to, you know. But yes,
Okay. All right.
the higher you are, the more expensive it is.
Okay. All right. I just want to know.
Movers are it's still within the corporations, but they have the ability to move up or down, and they will do anything to move up.
Okay. Now, can any of the players be any of these things?
We're gonna talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But these are also, if you want to compare them to, these are also for you to build NPCs off of. Like, it gives you like a hierarchy, right? Like if you make a corpse owner or a corpo, like they're gonna have a lot of like technology and high level and security around them.
Right.
It's not just a random schmo.
Yeah, and you'll probably never see a power dealer till like the
Correct.
last session. Or
Correct.
that's
the ancient gold dragon type thing. Then we have cyberpunks or edge runners. So edge runner is the actual term for these guys. Cyberpunk is just what they call themselves. And as you can tell, they're right under corpos. Like they're still within like the best of the best. These guys can be extremely wealthy. It's just their jobs is very dangerous. This is what most players are gonna be.
Okay.
Edge runners. They do jobs for or against the corporation. Like I said earlier, is corporations hire mercenaries. This is what I'm talking about. They will hire you to go fuck with Arasaka, and then Arasaka the next day will hire you to go against Militech. Like they don't give a shit.
Okay, so so are there again, you might not know the answer to this, and that's okay, but are there adventures where you have to do like corporate espionage or corporate warfare? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the whole thing. The whole, and we'll talk about, again, I keep saying this, but like later on, like what the loop is. And the loop is you just want to get a job so you can pay your bills.
Right. It doesn't matter. Like
it doesn't matter what the job is.
Like we're not going to worry about morality or anything like that.
Correct. There's no morality. I mean, you can worry about morality. That comes into the roleplay aspect of it, but in this world, this is not like, oh, good is good, evil is evil. This is very gray throughout.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Multiplexers is when they were retaking the city. Malls were built for obviously corporations to sell their shit, but then slowly would turn into living quarters or living areas for people. So imagine a big mall with houses inside of them, and people. This is more of the normal common Joe that kind of like can actually live in a nice city. Very consumer based. You know, this is just the regular NPCs you're gonna see throughout.
Okay.
And then the last two, beavers, which is just bureaucrats, and then street scum, which is like the poorest of the poor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just kind of like the last bit of that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Now we talked about like the hierarchy of people. Let's talk about a little bit about mega corporations.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm not gonna talk about every single one of them or what they do, but some of the big ones in this world are obviously Arasaka Militech, because they're just the bigger one. Trauma Team, Self Oil, and the News Network, which is they control the media, so obviously they have a lot of power. So much power so that even Arasaka won't fuck with them.
Really?
Yeah, because they can. It is known that if you don't want your image or your reputation to die, you don't mess with the.
Well, yeah.
With the news network.
Well, yeah. They control the public perception. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So what makes mega corporations? Like I said earlier, they hold a status almost like an embassy, to the point that their workers have corporate assigned passports, because they're not citizens of the United States. They're citizens of the mega
the corporate,
whatever it is. Arasaka Militech, yeah. There is mega corporations. So to paint a picture of how extreme and deadly mega corporations are, they have teams specifically for extractions. What extraction is just poaching other workers. So if Arasaka sees that Militech has like a really good I don't know, HR person, they will extract it. And I don't mean like, oh, they're gonna like, hey, we can pay you more. No, they will send a team of fucking like elite like Navy SEALs to take you out.
Can you
to take you out of the company.
Can you imagine that? You're just like, you know, like going throughout your normal day, like you're logging on to like, I don't know, like ADP or some shit to like check time cards, and all of a sudden the fucking smoke grenade is like, what?
Yeah, and it's whether you want it or not. Like it's not like you have an option to do it. To say no.
The extraction team's like, it's like we got a great opportunity here for you. Here, check out this.
They throw a pamphlet in your face and they just take you out in a helicopter.
Oh, hey, dental. What?
Yes. However, that's not usually how they do it. For the most part, they're like, we're gonna kidnap your kids.
I mean, I just having a little fun with it, but yeah, no, I would imagine exactly what you said.
Yeah, it's and like, to the point that like if that HR person is being extracted and they're being pulled physically out of the building, the extraction team of that company that the worker belonged to originally might have a sniper on the roofs just to take that worker out before they leave.
Really?
Yeah.
Companies,
mega corporations prefer, they would rather have their employees die or zeroed out or flatlined before they work for their competition.
So hold on. So to me,
that's when you have the movers go like, oh, a new position open up.
Yeah, well, that too. But also that just emphasizes like, dude, just like quiet quit, man. Just like don't go above and beyond. Just do the bare minimum. I am unextractable. This company.
But that's the thing. See, like the people who do that are the beavers. Those are the ones that like.
Oh, they
just don't want to go.
They're stagnant.
Yeah, they're stagnant.
Okay.
The movers are the ones that like they want to get. They're the ones that are worth extracting, not the beavers. They're not gonna.
I'm just saying, like, I know when I punch in, I'm gonna be punching out in the same building. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but also the beavers might be getting paid, $10,000 a year.
I mean,
while the movers have, 6-7 figure salaries, so it's a big difference. There's a reason. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I hear you. No.
On the other hand, like when you see the SWAT guy in mid swing to kick out your office window, you're like, yes, finally recognition.
Oh. So if a mega corporation sounds like a gang, it's because...
Can we play as an extraction team?
Yes! One of your jobs could be to extract somebody. Maybe they don't want them to be like at the Arasaka. Yeah. The Arasaka extraction team. They want it to look like an accident.
Parker, read them their benefits. You're gonna have a retirement package. We match up to 6% on your 401k.
6 days vacation. 6 day vacation. Holy crap.
We match up to 6% on your 401k.
Can you imagine? We have a nice break room.
2 months maternity leave.
You definitely want to work for us. Oh man. So
I mean,
so you have
like as if they had a choice.
Yeah. They're like, well, what am I gonna say? No.
Yeah. I mean, I
wouldn't. So this is like the corporations are like like they're big there. It's like the big top part of the buildings. What makes the streets of Night City alive and dangerous?
Is
and,
that guy
why would he
wielding a fucking battle axe in the middle of the street?
Yeah.
You know what? And one of those dudes at the front line has the exact same reaction, and they're gonna get that axe right in the face.
In the face.
That's what that's for. It's for shock and awe.
Well, hell yeah, it is.
Anyways, go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So this is just an overview of like some of the main ones. There's like smaller ones that are kind of lame, honestly. That's why I didn't put them here. But these are specifically for 2045. There's other gangs for 2077 who are actually pretty cool too. But fairly quickly, the 6th Street is just a bunch of veterans who are protecting their people. They're usually pretty good unless you mess with them, obviously. But on the other side of that, you have the Buzzos. This gang started as YouTube pranksters, if you want to say that.
Oh,
They're like,
God.
is this a prank, bro? Right? Like, oh, you know, like silly shit. But it slowly developed into like, I got your heart, like brutal tactics and calling it pranks.
So what you're saying is that a couple of months ago, when that YouTube pranker got shot in the stomach, that was the converging point where like we could have gone down the Cyberpunk like timeline.
But no, somebody showed them what's up early on.
Yeah, that guy saw the future. He's like, no, I'm gonna put it into this right fucking now.
He was coming back from 2045.
He's like, I got you, Podsmith. Oh man.
Oh. Then we have the Inquisitors. These guys think that all cyberware is bad for you, and they will rip it out of you.
Oh my God.
If they see it. Yeah, they're pretty brutal. The Ironsides are a border psychotic gang. They're just very extremely dangerous and violent. As a gang should be.
Okay.
Then we have the Maelstrom. These guys are the opposite of the Inquisitors. They believe metal is better than meat. Therefore, they will ride the edge of cyberpsychosis by implanting themselves with as much cyberware as they can. And then you have the Philharmonic Vampires.
A prankster group?
Yeah.
Hold the fuck on, because I'm getting some dissonance between the picture you put up and the description. Like, okay, the bozos I could get because we're crazy clowns, but what the fuck is this?
I don't know, but I liked it. So hold on, let me explain. The reason why they're called a prankster group is when they first debuted, and why they're called Philharmonic Vampires. It's because they were dressed in full tuxedos, and when they were attacking people, they were singing and performing theatrics.
I would rather fight the bozos. Can you imagine getting your ass whooped in a musical number?
People don't consider them too dangerous. They're just really weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Like, can you imagine walking down the streets like, wait a minute. Is that Sondheim? We gotta go.
Yeah. So the picture that they have for like the early editions of the games, it's like a guy in a tuxedo with a hat. But I found this one because it looks cool. It's like a cyberpunk vampire. Okay. So I was like, those are gonna be my Philharmonic Vampires.
God, that's man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we have Scavengers. These guys is literally what they sound like. They're not necessarily a gang. They just stick together. They go into the old parts of the sea looking for lost technology, and hardware. You know, from the old world, quote unquote old world, before the disaster.
I love the idea that there is a old part of the city where you have to pay people to have you. Oh, what's it? Never mind. Oh, go on. There's a YouTube video where an essayist is talking about cities built on top of cities, and that made me think about this. So.
Yeah. Which is, you would think that some modern cities wouldn't have that because you wouldn't think about it, but like they do. They have like a full city under the city.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Oh yeah, of course they do. Yeah.
And then we have the Tiger Claws, one of the coolest ones. They're known for their martial arts, their sharp weapons, and their motorcycles. And they were originally an Arasaka group that after the war they split, and they just became almost like a protector gang for all Asian people in Night City. Very dangerous still though.
Okay, so they're the assassins from John Wick 3. Gotcha.
Yes, exactly, the assassins from John Wick 3. And then one of the last ones here is the Voodoo Boys. These guys in 2045 are mainly synthetic drugs dealers with ritual magic overtones, you know, the whole voodoo thing. However, when people from the Caribbean started coming into Night City and seeing this shit, they were like, this is fucked. You guys are disrespecting our religion. And then eventually they actually started doing like actual rituals and stuff like that, and they evolve into a bit more of like a net running gang instead of just like a synthetic drug dealers only.
So the voodoo people from outside of Night City were not liking the fact that they were a drug dealer Okay. All right.
Well, not so much that, but like taking the whole voodoo thing and not actually doing voodoo.
Right. Oh, yeah, okay. Like you just took the aesthetic, not the practice.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jacob Geller.
But yeah.
Jacob Geller is that guy's name that does the city built on top of cities video.
I gotta check it out.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
But yeah. So these are some of the main gangs in Night City. This is a lot of flavor for NPCs that you can bring in to fight your players, obviously. And there's a couple more in the book that were just kind of like, but you know.
Question: can you have your players be a member of one of these gangs?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course you can. Okay. Yeah.
We're not playing with any bozos or Philharmonic vampires. Okay.
Mine's gonna be exclusively a Philharmonic vampire.
All right. Better drink that hot tea. You gotta loosen up them vocal cords.
So now let's talk about. Oh my god, my hair is fucking insane, bro. Look at this shit. I'm going crazy.
I mean, how do you think I feel? I'm rocking like a bowl cut over here, and I'm trying to make it look nice.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the big legends of Night City. I think this is important because it adds a lot of like flavor to the the mythos and legends of Night City. This is what like an edge runner will hear about in their youth and be like, oh my god, I want to be like Silverhand. Well, or I want to be like.
Well, I mean, you dropped some names, and I'm instantly curious as to who these people are, because I heard of Adam Smasher, but I didn't know that he is a bad guy.
Oh yeah, he's a bad guy. So Johnny Silverhand, the first one, the most famous one, you know, the get up samurai, we got a city to burn type thing. Mm-hmm. And just. It's good to remind yourself that this character was not made for Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves just portrays his character.
Right.
You know, that it happens to kind of go really hand in hand with his aesthetic is pretty cool. But he's been in the book since like the first Cyberpunk. I think it's, if I have the original, the second piece of artwork with him in. Anyways, he was a veteran of the Second Corporate War. He went to, the Second Corporate War also, there was Latin America. The United States were like, we don't have money, so let's go to Latin America and fuck them up.
Oh, cool. Proxy wars. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, he was like, fuck this, I don't like this. And then he kind of like deserted. They never caught him. He was the original rocker boy. He didn't start the movement, but he was the original actual rocker boy. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, after the war, he was started a band to protest with protest music against those atrocities.
Yeah, bringing the punk, the cyberpunk. Yeah.
Yeah. His relationship with Al Cunningham is very important because they're both two of like the most legendary people in the world. They were very messy, and it allowed the whole engram thing of him and Alt and all that stuff happening, and you know, Soul Killer and whatnot. He did set off the Night City Holocaust. Oopsies. He was he was killed by Adam Smasher. However, it's Night City Holocaust, but the Holocaust itself was like a fall from. He took down Arasaka. That was the main thing. The fact that the city was, you know, collateral damage was whoopsies.
I mean, I think we're well outside of this being a accident.
He was killed by Adam Smasher, and then he became an engram thanks to Soul Killer.
Okay. Okay. So before we move on, because I haven't yet played 2077, but after this I might. But I heard a lot of people saying like, no, stop worshiping Johnny Silverhand. He's not a hero. Is this the reason why? Because he set off the Holocaust? Okay.
Yeah, but not much of that, but he's so anti-corporate that he's almost tunnel focused on it. He doesn't any collateral damage. Like, yeah, he's aware of it, and he's a human, and he feels for that. But if he takes out Arasaka, that's all that matters.
Yeah, so he's definitely an ends justify the means kind of person.
Correct, but that also applies to pretty much everybody in this world, anyways. So like, he's a hero compared to, you know, cyberpunk people. Like, it's
right.
There's no such thing as a knight in shiny armor.
Right.
Morgan Blackhand. Damn it, I always forget his fucking name. He was the original Solo. Solo just means he's like a legit, quite honestly, just a mercenary. He's just really good with weapons.
Okay.
What made him almost similar to Johnny Silverhand, he was a veteran, tired of that shit, ended the war, couldn't find work, whatever. He became a mercenary, the original Solo. what made him impressive, his call to fame was that he will complete any job without any collateral damage and bring in the target alive.
Gotcha.
That was a huge deal. And he will do like the hardest missions too. Like he was just that good. He was also the leader of the team that took down the Arasaka Tower during the end of the Fourth War, and he faced Atom Smasher, and question mark survived. The reason why it's a big question mark in the community is because Atom Smasher hates this guy because he's the opposite. He doesn't have a lot of cybernetics, and he's a goody two shoes that always tries to save everybody and always succeeds. And he made it a point that he always challenged Morgan Blackhand, but Morgan was like, no, I don't need to fight you.
Yeah.
So when he got the opportunity to do it during this conflict in the Arasaka Tower, Morgan Blackhand just disappeared. Like, you would think that Atom Smasher will be, beating his chest about taking down Morgan Blackhand, but he didn't. So, and then there's been not visions, sightings of Morgan Blackhand, and oh, he might still be out there. So yeah, it was badass.
Nope.
Presumably he just kind of soft retired. Like, they couldn't find their body, but it was also a atomic explosion. So like,
I mean, if that would probably be the best time to be like, you know what, I'm done. Just kind of Irish goodbye the entire situation.
Yeah, people are so hoping that he will show up somehow in 2077.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like people like screenshots and like little bits of information and stuff, and they're like, doing the whole conspiracy theory. All right, now the big boy, Atom Smasher.
Oof.
Take what makes Silverhand and Blackhand the best of the best and turn it 180 degrees. Sadistic from youth, didn't do well in the army. After he became a mercenary, and then he got blown to pieces. And then I can't remember if it was like Arasaka or Militech who was like, yo, if you become one of our soldiers, we will give you a cyborg body. And most people kind of like look at that, most military people, and they're like, no, if I become a cyborg, I will lose my humanity. I don't want to do that. Atom Smasher like, fuck yes, let's do this. So they gave him a cyborg body. Then he became one of the best mercenaries out there to get any job done. He only had one request, that collateral damage and civilian casualties were permitted. That was his only request. If that wasn't allowed, he wouldn't take the job.
So he literally is the opposite of Morgan Blackhand.
Yeah,
where he's this guy is the most unprofessional, like, sadist. Just okay,
yeah,
cool.
he killed Johnny Silverhand, David Martinez, which is the guy from Edge Runners, the anime series, and Morgan Blackhand ? Maybe. After the Arasaka nuking, he survives, and that's how he went from the guy in the front that he looked almost human with like the skins to the guy in the back who was essentially like RoboCop,
right?
Maybe. And then he was killed by V in 2077. Spoilers. Question mark? Maybe. We don't know.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Perhaps.
Or did he?
So.
Of course.
So yeah.
Or did he?
Yeah, pretty much. So Atom Smasher in this world is if Atom Smasher shows up against your players, run.
Okay.
He is brutal. Don't ask me about the mechanics because I haven't gone that deep. But he is supposed to be like the baddie of the baddies.
Okay. So this is like, okay, I have a bunch of murder hobos. I'm just gonna drop an Atom Smasher on them and just okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Militech saw that you're doing a lot of collateral damage. Atom Smasher's being brought in to end that.
To show you how to do collateral damage.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he works for Arasaka, but whatever.
Oh, okay.
Same difference. Yeah. And then we have a kind of like a combo slide here with the best edge runners of their time. Al Cunningham, Spider Murphy, Rage Bartmus, which is a cool name. Rage Bartmus was the original edge runner. He's essentially the guy who invented like all the things that we know about net running, the programs, the demons, the ice, like all these things. He created a lot of it. He worked for a couple of corporations, and then he became a recluse. Al Cunningham, Soul Killer, and then Spider Murphy was the one that crashed the monies in the third corporate war.
Destabilize the
Destabilize the net. Yeah.
What's Demons and Hounds?
We're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hurt. Good. So in Night City, there's a couple of things that can help you, maybe question mark, if you have the money.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Trauma Team. This is their healthcare system. These guys are they are expertly trained. They're the most deadly soldiers and healthcare providers in a combo.
I don't want my EMTs to have like full militarized gear.
Hold on, because they have different packages. The bare minimum package is actually, let's start from the top. The top package is like, I forgot the money. It's like only for corporals. It's like the best of the best.
Right.
They are guaranteed to be within your locations in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Let's say that you're getting fucked in like under like a basement 30-story high building, and the only entry point is at the top. They will find a way to make it down there in 3 minutes.
Oh my god.
They're that brutal. They will stabilize you. They will revive you. They will bring you to your corporate a healthcare provider. All that and dandy in their nice little flying EVs. The mid tier is pretty much the same. Maybe not 3 minutes, maybe 4 or 5. And then they get you to a hospital. Once you get to the hospital, you get charged for the EV ride. You get charged for the stay in your hospital. They get charged for the bullets that were spent. You get charged for any damaged equipment from the trauma team. And this is not a cheap package.
No, I imagine it wouldn't.
Yeah. No, I'm saying like the base subscription package is not cheap. On top of everything else you have to pay.
Oh my god. Okay.
They charge you per bullet spent. And then there's the bare minimum package, which again, it's affordable, but it's not quite as affordable. And they'll get to you if there's no priority calls. And if they do get to you, they might just patch you up and leave you on the street and fly to the next call.
Wow.
You are not priority. Yeah.
Wow.
So, Trauma Team, badasses. Pretty cool to drop into like, in the middle of a session to show up, and like you don't want to mess with them, but they're in the middle of your mission, so like maybe you should mess with them.
Right. Or maybe you can have one of the players be a Trauma Team member, right? Maybe? No?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
maybe. Max Stack. These guys.
Sorry, you're on our base plan. I can only give you a band-aid, and it's going to be $250,000. Okay, gotta go. Bye.
On the police side of things is Max Stack, which is like your SWAT team. They're all cyborgs, and they mainly deal with cyber psychos. They are even more extreme than the Trauma Team. They will fucking ram their tanks through a house just to like take you down. They don't care about casualties. Just about getting the job done. Pretty awesome guys. You don't want to mess with them.
Yes, pretty cool.
This world is brutal, man. All right, so we know a little bit about Night City. There's a lot more. I'll just try to get like the overview points. So let's talk about the actual game, the actual core mechanics of the game, and what the game is all about. A couple of things that you kind of have to like adhere, not have to, but like what makes Cyberpunk is that it's always personal. Everything you do is personal, including like your friends, team, family, your clan. If there's a bad situation for one of them, you will take it personally. There's no such thing as like, they'll deal with it. Like this is his problem, is your problem.
Right.
You are a rebel with a cause, and as a Cyberpunk player, you have to find that and go to the wall with it. Like there's no middle ground. You have to fucking go to the extreme every time, and you have to master 3 concepts: style over substance. I love this because I've read it so many times, but it doesn't matter how well you do it, how well you do something, as long as you look good doing it. If you're going to blow it, make sure it looks like you planned it that way, because you have to look cool no matter what.
Yeah.
Then attitude is everything. In this city, everybody's out to kill you. So if you're gonna bring up your attitude, you better have the means to back it up.
Okay.
And then live on the edge. You are willing to go all out for the most minor thing in this world.
Okay.
So if you adhere to these basic principles, then you become a cyberpunk.
So live every day like it's your last. Got it.
Pretty much. Now, as a player, what can I be? What are my classes? What are my race? Well, you're human. That's the only thing you can be, because again, not super far in the future. But your classes, quote unquote, or roles are as follows: Rocker Boys, like we explained earlier. Solos, just basic mercenaries, really good with guns. Netrunners are your hackers. Your techs are like your
I remember that art. I played as a tech and one shot.
What's the name of the Dungeons and Dragons guy who fixes things?
Artificer.
Artificer. It's your artificer. He fixes, creates, like he's just your tech guy. Also really good at weapons. And then your med techs, your healer. Those are like the main base classes. Most cyberpunkers will play these main guys. However, there's a whole other set of almost like corpos and corporate type things that you can be. These are always more of like the NPC side of things,
right,
but you can play them. Medias, you have access to a lot of information and being able to broadcast information and find that information. Executives, are corporates, or if you so happen to have a mission that needs to go into an Arasaka, this will be the person to like go ahead and like show you how the building is laid out. Lawman, you're just a law enforcer. You're there to like take care of like the baddies, I guess.
Yeah, Judge Dredd. Got it.
Judge Dredd, yeah. Fixers is the in-betweener. Like when a big corporation is trying to hire edge runners, they're the ones who find information or get you what you need to do, or like, oh, you gotta do this and find these things and do these other things before you can go into and attack Militech.
Okay.
And then nomads outside of the city is like, it's essentially Mad Max. Nomads are just really good drivers, and they're really good with vehicles inside the city and outside the city. They're mainly transporters.
Okay.
So these classes, this one's right here, you can play them. You'll be fine playing them, but they're more niche to certain things. Right. These are your basic kind of like, this is what most of you are gonna be.
These are the main classes, and then
yeah.
So
yeah, but they're not. The book doesn't treat them as main classes and subclass or not so main class. Like they're all classes.
Right, but it's just like I don't
thematically.
I don't see an exec having as much leeway as like one of the like a med tech or something. Correct.
Correct.
I mean, I would imagine. I mean, is how big of an emphasis is something like combat over role play in Cyberpunk? Like, is it?
It's a lot more combat heavy than roleplay.
Okay, so then I would imagine like an exec or like a media probably wouldn't be that great by comparison, So yeah,
yeah, exactly. All right. So now let's walk into the mechanics, the actual meat of the game.
All right.
Pretty simple stuff. 1d10, that's all you need, and a couple d6.
All you need
66.
All you need is one d6 and just like a shit ton of d6s, or one d10 and a bunch of d6s. That's all you need. Yeah, it's totally fine.
That's all you need. Yeah. There's no levels in this game. Only skill improvements. Really? So it's not like, oh, I'm a level 10 solo. No, you're just a really good solo.
Okay.
So you're just improving your skills. The three most important numbers is stats, skills, and roll ability. Your stats is your main attribute, like your main like strength, dexterity, whatever. And your skill, pretty similar to Dungeons and Dragons, is your, the only difference is that they're not predetermined. They're not like the same sub skills as in Dungeons and Dragons. These are like way more broad.
Okay.
And then skill checks, it's just your stat, your skill number, and 1d10, and you want to roll under the DV or the difficulty value.
Right. Yeah.
So pretty straightforward.
Oh wait, no. Sorry, I was getting that confused with Call of Cthulhu, where you want to roll inside the percentile bracket.
Right. No, it's similar. It's just we're not adding zeros next to it. You're just
okay.
It's just a plain number.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, I drew a complete blank from when we played the.
No, it's a similar system. It's D10s.
Okay.
Then contested skills is the same roll, but whoever's higher wins. Roll abilities is what makes your class unique, because other people cannot have these skills. Only you can have this skill, and this skill is the one that levels up, and that's the more you can do as a solo. That's the more you can do as a rocker boy, the more you can do as a netrunner. And they're all very different, and they'll all be their own episode.
Oh boy.
And then there's a life path, which is how you create your backstory, but there's more mechanics in here than in Dungeons and Dragons, because a lot of it is more, like, based on your that's essentially how you build the game around people. This is like what your players are allied to, what their enemies are, who you bring in. Because like an enemy here, you're bringing them and you're gonna shoot them in the face or you're gonna do something about it. Like it's not, it's part of the actual story mechanic.
Right.
Obviously your character history and your upbringing, and there's like a whole table thing, and you roll and you pick and stuff like that. Maybe it'll be his own episode.
Oh, maybe. I'm very curious as to how something like that would be like incorporated. This is probably a stupid question, but is there like published adventures for Cyberpunk?
Yes.
Okay, so like I'm very curious to read a little bit of one just to see how they make it. Like, is there like a moment where it's like you would bring in this character's enemy here or anything like that?
No, it's so most adventures are very top level. They're like jobs essentially. Your job is to do this.
Okay.
And it tells you like it tells you the details, but then it's your job to add the backstory or the life path of your players into that. So if there's a security guard here that's your ally, then you just place the NPC and bring their allies in. And all it is a name change, and then you just roleplay that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
combat.
Shit.
Very brutal, cinematic, action focused, 3 seconds. One round is 3 seconds. So everything happens really fast in this game. Similarly to Dungeons and Dragons, there's range attacks, melee attacks. The main difference here is that there's also net running attacks, or just net running in general. Okay. Your damage is, you have very little life. Your life points don't really go up that much. It's how much equipment you have on how much armor, how much better armor you have. So essentially, you get hit. If the hit happens, you roll for damage. If your armor is 10 and the damage is 9, you're good.
Okay.
If your armor is 10 and your damage is 12, you take 2 hit points of damage, and then your armor is no longer 10. Your armor is now 9. So next time you have less of a chance to not get hit.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Your armor degrades as it takes more and more punishing hits. Yeah,
exactly.
That makes sense.
If the shot goes through, it degrades.
I actually kind of wish there was a mechanic more like that in most tabletop RPGs, just so that way, like, you have a justification for like, hey, we really need to get back to town because my plate armor took a shit ton of damage.
Correct.
And I'm essentially wearing tinfoil right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're right. Like, I mean, as human, like, a bodybuilder who's super strong and presumably a higher level than you are, if he gets shots, he gets shots. You know what I mean? Like,
it doesn't matter where that bullet's going. It's going into something meaty.
Yeah, exactly. And then death save are brutal here because it's just one roll. If you pass the roll, you're good. If you're not past the roll, you're dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's against your body stat, and there's like a whole thing to it.
So how like often do people die in this game? Is it
life is cheap in this game.
Okay, so like you want to make a character, and you like. Is this something where like I want to get invested because they survived 3 sessions?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Yeah. Like, man, this guy's a tough. This dude's a tough cookie. He almost died to the Philharmonic Vampires.
Almost. So yeah, any questions with the basics and combat before we move to net running?
Okay, can you just for like the viewers and also to refresh my memory? Okay, so let's say I'm up against a gang. I'm fighting a Maelstrom guy. All right, I take out my pistol and I go to shoot him. What would that roll look like?
That it will be, I believe, it's a difficulty value assigned to that specific NPC.
Okay.
So it's a D10 plus whatever your weapon number is. Depending on the weapon, have a better chance of hitting, and your related stat. So it will be reflexes with a weapon, I believe. So reflex number plus your weapon specific number, like a plus 2 hit, and then you draw a D10.
So if I'm adding all these pluses, why do I want to roll low? Like, what does rolling high do?
Well, you miss.
If I roll high.
Yeah.
So if I roll... Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. That's kind of confusing me. So I want to roll a low number, but then I add all those numbers on top of it.
Hold on. Yeah, it's your stat, your skill, plus a D10. Well, presumably the difficulty value would be pretty high.
Okay,
Now you got me confused.
yeah, I'm sorry. I just because I saw that.
No.
Because I saw
It's a
that,
good question.
and I'm like, wait, if we're adding numbers on top of it, why would I want to roll low? That's the thing that gets me. I can kind of understand in Call of Cthulhu, where like rolling low is good because you're within that bracket.
Right.
But also, like, you increasing it increases the size of the bracket in which you can roll inside of. So is that the same thing?
All right. So let's see. According to the range table, he needs to beat a DV15. Also, it's based on range.
Okay.
Right. He rolls a D10, gets a 4, and adds his REF reflex.
Okay.
Which is an 8 plus a 6. Which is an 18. It's a hit. Oh. Wait, what?
So you want?
Oh, I'm sorry. To hit, yeah, no, you're right. To hit is higher.
Okay.
For a skill check, it's lower. Than the DV.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That got me going there for a minute.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, didn't mean to throw you off there.
No. I just didn't put it in the slideshow.
Okay, so it's like quote unquote traditional attack rolls, or like you want to roll over the
right. In combat, it's like traditional, yeah.
Okay.
Which is technically a contested skill, so it's a higher number wins.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. My bad.
No, not bad. That's a good question.
I think
right.
I think we were
So-
we were here.
Yeah. So let's move on to net running. This is almost like a whole different thing than regular combat.
Oh yeah,
right?
I very much remember like Howard's game was completely
And then-
separate from our game.
Yeah.
Like we were
Yeah.
holding off the cops in the hallway, and Howard is reverse toilet tanking, doing some weird like playing Snake on the fucking Atari. Or something.
So I think I read that wrong. Either I read it wrong or it was before the actual rules were released. So two important concepts to remember is that there is the net space and the meat space.
I'm sorry. I won't ever forget that. he's on the toilet hacking away. Anyways, go on.
So meat space is the real world, and then net space is the space of the net. Right. Every net runner has an interface of some sort that has essentially an AR component to it, which overlays the net space on the meat space world.
Okay.
So this is kind of like where it didn't happen to Howard because I didn't run it correctly. If it would have run that way, he would have been able to move around the real world without any issues.
Okay.
In order to net run, you have to. So let's say you're in a building, right? The building has a security and a whole architecture network in it. You have to find a interface to plug into, right?
Okay.
Let's say you find a module. You get into the module. You have to be within 6 meters of that module, and then you can hack it or get into the net. When you get into the net, or actually when you get into the building, you scan. It pings where the interface is. You go there, you get into the net, and then you have to do a Pathfinder roll. The Pathfinder roll, depending on how high you roll, it tells you the architecture of that network. And the way it works is almost like they describe it as an elevator from level 1 to whatever it is. Right. Let's say that in the book it says that it's a 10-level architectural net, right? But they didn't roll too hot, so the DM will tell them, or the GM will tell them, oh, it's you see six levels instead of 10.
Okay.
If they roll really high, they can even be like, oh, you see that there's actually just 10 levels, and this is what's in each level. And he tells you. And the first level is a password, second level is a demon, the second whatever, yada 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 yada. So that's kind of like this is happening on their AR as they're connected in the mid world.
So I wonder what happens if it is a situation where there's like the 10-level structure, like you said, but they only roll to find 6. So they're like, oh, okay, so I'm on the top level. Like, what happens? Like, oh, fuck, there's more levels. Like, is that like, okay?
Yep,
okay.
Because the goal of most net running is to find something in the net, right? That's something that they're trying to find is usually at the last level.
Gotcha. So,
right.
So they might burn all their resources getting through those 6 levels, thinking, haha, I got it. And you're like, fuck.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Each netrunner has a cyber deck. This is like their spell book, if you want to think about it that way. And they have slots in it. Each one of them can be, you can add a program to that or a hardware upgrade to it. Different programs do different things, but some of the basics are the boosters who support you, defenders who defend you, and attackers who attack. They're a bunch of different spells, programs, and they do things in the net.
Okay.
We already talked about the basic actions: scanning, jacking in, and then pathfinding.
Okay. So yeah, so scanning, you gotta go in their lobby. Hopefully they have those USB chargers. Yes.
Yeah. Shit.
Quick, someone get me a cup of coffee. I need it for cover.
So what will you find in the net, right? Here's some of the basic stuff you'll find. And again, depending on your role, your GM might tell you what's in each level. They might not tell you, it might be a mystery. But a password.
Okay.
It's a basic kind of like gate. You have to roll a couple things until you crack it and you move forward. BlackICE, which is where hounds are. BlackICE is just programs that will attack you.
Right.
They're just chilling in level 2, and the minute you step in, they get an attack automatically. No roll, nothing. You just oh, hello. And then you either fight them or you skip them.
Is there any,
Very important.
Is there any way to like prevent an attack, or is it like it's always gonna happen?
Well, there might be programs that allow you to kind of like prevent an attack.
Gotcha.
But the rule is they will attack you. There might be a program that like puts up a shield and you don't get that first hit. But
Right.
BlackICE, which is like your hounds, those are specific programs that will. They're essentially your monsters in the net. Different stats for each different monster. Hound is just one of them. And then they will attack you, and you have to fight them or you can skip them, and move on to the next level.
Okay.
A control node. These are cool because you're in a building with a lot of security in Arasaka, and your party members are getting pinned down by the security system. You can take over the security system and turn it against the NPCs.
Okay. Kind of like what Alt Cunningham did in Arasaka Town.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yep. Files is what you're looking for. Usually, it's like information on whatever or secrets on whatever. Usually at the last level. Demons are developed by I already forgot his name. Rage, the hacker, whatever. The original hacker.
You know who he is. Anyway,
the one.
Feverishly skipping.
There. Raj Barmas. I don't know why I can never remember his name.
It's all right.
These guys, the minute you're in the net, they know you're there.
Okay.
And they are like in between another net runner and a hound or a BlackICE. They are more intelligent, and they control nodes. They can attack you directly, and they're not in a specific level. They're just there. So like if you're just getting to the net, they can attack you. They're like, oh, you're here, fuck you. So it's your job to take them out.
So questions: can demons be other people? Can it be like okay? So it's not. It's
a program.
Okay, so I just thought maybe it's something like a corpo, like, oh, I hired this netrunner to protect us.
That will be a netrunner, which you can also find in there. Okay. So a netrunner has the same ability as the player.
The Spider-Man meme.
Pretty much.
Inside a cyber tower.
Yeah. I think the most dangerous one is something called a deck crash, which only a netrunner can trigger on you, or you can trigger on a netrunner. And what that does is like it just crashes your cyber deck and it pulls you out of the net.
Oh.
Very dangerous because in this world, if you jack out of the internet improperly, or you step away from the range, or power goes out, or it gets destroyed or whatever, you get jacked out of the net. And every time you move from one level to another, a hound or a BlackICE attacks you automatically.
Really?
So if you're 7 levels in, and the module you're in gets blown up by the enemy, you get jacked out, and all of those 6 levels, if you skip the BlackICE, they're still there. They will take a free hit on you.
Oh shit!
Every single time. So you can skip them, but for the most part, you kind of want to take care of them.
So it's like cyber attacks of opportunity, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Oh shit!
One thing that netrunners do, or what happens when you get out of the net, it resets. So all the demons, all the hounds, all the BlackICE comes back, all the passwords gets reset, unless you do something about it. that's something that you can do is install a virus. To install a virus, you have to get to the last level. When you get to the last level, you tell your GM what you want that virus to be.
Okay.
It can be anything. Could be literally anything. It can be like, I want this virus to take down all of Arasaka globally, right? Depending on what you ask the GM to do, your DV value is gonna be higher and higher. Like your difficulty value is gonna be higher and higher. And then you roll, and if you beat it, then it's I forgot what the stats are for that specific roll, but if you beat it, you made a virus. So the next person who has to deal with that virus has to roll that DV that the GM gave you.
Jesus.
That you beat. Yeah, obviously the simpler it is, like I want my virus to leak all the information of this person once they check in. It's a lower difficulty. Like it depends.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, I want my virus to take like 0.0001% of everyone's like money per paycheck or something.
Yeah.
Like like the Office Space thing.
Yeah, pretty much. So that's the last thing you can do. So let's say you find a secret and you want to leave, you can set up a virus before you leave.
So going back to you saying like I want to take down Arasaka globally, like what would, like we're talking like something that sounds in game nigh impossible. What kind of difficulty value are we talking here? Like what's the role?
So because I haven't ran, I don't want to give you a DV value based on Cyberpunk because I don't know. But if I want to compare it to a Dungeons and Dragons role, it will be a difficulty value of like 50.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like that ask is like astronomical. You have to have a lot of programs and a lot of things that can let you do that.
Yeah, this is like in game. Like this is why we're here to do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not something you do for shits and giggles.
Yeah, exactly. The shits and giggle ones might be like a 10 or a 12.
Yeah, like I'm just gonna leave a zip bump.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that's very important to do when you're a net runner and you're leaving the network is the cloak command.
Okay.
Which deletes all traces that you were there. If you don't, whoever comes in next can do a roll to find out who was here before you and get your footprint, which could lead to, another set of mercenaries coming after you because you fucked with their boss or something.
Them finding you, or maybe them being like, "Hey, they beat our cybersecurity. Let's extract them."
Yeah, exactly. So, again, sometimes players forget to do that command, and that's when the GM kind of comes in. And like,
so, is it possible for them to be like different net runners? Like I'm a smash and grab net runner, like, and I do the job sloppy, or like I'm a really stealthy net runner, and like no one even knows.
That was a difference. Yeah, that was the difference between Spider Murphy and Bart Moss. Spider Murphy, elegant, you wouldn't even know. Bart Moss was flamboyant as hell. He will like make sure you knew he was there.
Oh, okay. It's like he'd leave like a little calling card, like you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Bart Moss.
Damn you! So that is pretty much the basics of the mechanics, right, of the game. And here's a little flow chart of the loop of the actual, like, how the game is played. And it's just, you get a job, you do the job, you get paid, and then you repeat. That's it.
Question mark, money.
Yeah, money. Yeah, pretty much. But that's it. Like, you can make a campaign out of Cyberpunk, right? But the campaign will consist of you just living your life in Night City. You're just a citizen trying to make your living, right? And you take a job, and that job might be, the first two jobs will be just like actual straight up jobs, like, a heist or kill this guy or whatever. But then the third job might develop the whole thing from Cyberpunk 2077, when it becomes this huge thing and then becomes that epic.
Yeah, I mean that's not to say that like you can't have narrative components within like
correct.
Mission.
Obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. So like a session. So the rule of thumb is a session should be a job. Right. So one session will be one job. The downtime will be like there's a bunch of tables for like you have to pay for your rent, your living expenses, all this kind of stuff. And then the next time you come to the table.
Oh no, okay, that's not why I want to play a TTRPG, man.
And then the next job is a little bit more epic. So that's when the players are like, well, I want to be a legend of in Night City. So I'm gonna go to the afterlife bar and like try to find a crazy job, or one of the players knows a fixer, or one of the players is the fixer. It's like, hey guys, I got this job, and then that job becomes multiple sessions because it's a bigger, larger job that develops into crazier and crazier shit.
Okay.
You know,
that might actually
the
be,
basic of it is you just want to get paid. That's it.
This might actually be like a pretty good method for someone that's like, hey, I want to play in Cyberpunk, but I can't really commit to it. So then that's when you have them jump in, like, oh, well, you could be like the fixer for us in this one session, and then you'll like, then you can like duck out, whatever.
Exactly.
Okay, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there is campaigns, obviously, but like the core of it is you're just getting jobs, and I think they're called data sheets. I think is what they call them in the game, where like it's essentially like a job posting. Of like, hey, looking somebody to zero out this one dude.
Now how does a player get a job? Like
Fixers. So a fixer is somebody in the city who just has contacts.
Gotcha.
And sometimes the fixer's like, hey, I had this job. I need you to steal this I don't know, hard drive from this person, right? They don't give you can ask for more details. They might not give you, maybe roll contested, whatever. You do the job, turns out you're stealing from Arasaka without knowing, and now the job has fucking devolved into something else that you were getting paid something very little comparatively now.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where the intrigue and like the friction comes into, and now you're pissed at the fixer for putting you in that situation.
Okay.
And like it's a city, it's real life, and that's pretty much it. Exactly, almost 2 hours.
Wow. Okay. That was pretty cut and not cut and dry. That was pretty clean cut there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more in between, like especially when it comes to the roles and some of the more in-depth mechanics, and the world itself. There's so much for each corporation. There's so much for each gang. There's so much for Night City itself. Like there's combat zones. I didn't even touch on that, which are just zones in the city that are like the Wild West essentially.
Jesus.
Yeah, there's a lot. So that is Cyberpunk, Andrew. Do you now know Cyberpunk?
I know it a little bit better than I did 2 hours ago. So
Good.
However, I do have a plethora of questions, which I will do my best to compose and send them your way. Because I'm very curious about this setting, about the mechanics, about the pretty much everything. Because I'll be perfectly honest with you, like ever since we played that one shot, I'm like, I kind of want to go back to that. Like I want to go back to the grimy city, this is gonna sound weird, but like I want to go to the oppressive boot heel of capitalism and then try to fight against it.
And have a chance. Yeah. So, well, it's funny because you're not the only one who said that before. Like Heather wants to jump back in too. It left a mark. I think for me, something that I didn't even touch too much into this presentation is the actual culture of Cyberpunk. There's a whole bunch of like slang words and music, and that it all relates to the themes of Cyberpunk. And it's all very, I don't know, it's very unique because I think it's unique to me because it's very close to our world.
Right.
So it's easier for me to grasp, right? Like, or not necessarily to grasp. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, feel at home with. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot, I hate corporations.
Yeah, it feels lived in. Like you can tell, like whoever came up with it, Mike Pondsmith, like obviously like thought down even to the granular, like the vernacular. Like that, because there are so many times where somebody will try to do like a slang for their setting and it feels really forced. But I never got that from like Cyberpunk, setting.
I was gonna make a bunch of other slides of like what's next, like what's more Cyberpunk, what's out there that you can do right now. But Andrew, now that you have a PS5, play Cyberpunk 2077. It might be free in their PlayStation Plus or whatever the fuck.
It probably is. I'll
because the expansion is coming, so they want to sell that. So it's probably like, But 2077, it's an excellent job of bringing the tabletop onto a game. Like, it's so crazy, because I tend to forget that it's not based on the game is based on the book, because I'm reading the book, I'm like, oh, I've seen this before, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it, you know what I mean, it was inspired by this, it wasn't the other way around.
Right.
That's how well made it is. But yeah. Whew.
Well, I first of all, Jose, I want to thank you. That you did a very good job of your presentation. However, I did notice that there were some some little goof 'em up, so I am gonna have to dock points from that. So
that's okay.
So I'm gonna give you a B minus. No,
wow.
I'm kidding. Beautiful presentation, Jose. Thank you so much for putting in the putting in the legwork. For
our listeners, I mean, we're gonna put this on YouTube so you can actually see the slides, but yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the
I mean, I kind of feel like a bumpkin now, because all I have is like a Google Docs notes for our next episode.
No, dude, you're fine. I mean, you're fine.
Cause like Jose sent me like a 3-second like thing, like, oh man, I'm making a presentation. I'm over here just like on my phone working on notes, and I'm like, oh yeah. So now I'm gonna have to get like a fucking like IPS banner.
No, you're good. I just got really excited. Like, for the past like 2 weeks, I've been like reading, watching, studying, listening, all things Cyberpunk. There's so much more I didn't even touch upon, and like it's crazy how intertwined it is with our actual culture in the real world.
I mean, because I started to look a little bit into Cyberpunk, and there's like a lot of people saying like, no, we're here. We're living it, you know?
Yeah.
It's not that far off.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's great.
But it's true.
Oh man. But so when do we get to the part where I can put like katanas on inside my arms and shit? when do we get there?
Sorry, bro. You'll be too poor to do that. We're gonna be street scum if we ever, like, in our Cyberpunk world.
I don't know. I feel like I got a pretty good soprano. No, not a soprano. What's the lower voice? I could probably be a Philharmonic vampire. Nah, I'm kidding. I can't sing shit.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next section of our podcast, which is session highlights. All right, Andrew.
My session highlight had absolutely nothing to do with D&D.
Okay.
And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Do it.
Okay, so during our session, Alex couldn't make it there. Alex couldn't be there because I think he was away for something. So we just narratively said that, you know, he's in the no corner for committing war crimes against Dwargars. So there was something going on with Heather's internet, so she had to restart her computer. So while we were waiting for her to restart, Robert's like, guys, I have something to confess.
Oh my god, yeah.
he was like, I have something to confess, and it's gonna be heresy, but I don't like big robots. What?
The table. I need to make a highlight of that. I forgot.
What started was like a 20-minute long meltdown from the table. And then what made it worse was that when Heather came back, she's like, whoa, what the fuck's going on? Because it was like, it's like the Community meme where she walks in and everything's on fire. And we're like, Robert said he doesn't like mechs and stuff like that. And she goes, well, I'm not really crazy about him either. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? What? You can't just say that right after, like, on the heels of our Lancer episode.
Oh, dude, it was. Oh my god, it was so. Even chat was like, yeah, check him out.
Yeah, and then chat started turning against them.
It was so ridiculous. I'm gonna make a highlight. You guys can find it on our Twitch channel, because I completely forgot. That was so good. I think my session highlight was actually with the Mind Flayer that we met.
Oh,
because
yes.
Like we're doing this whole thing. Like, should we trust him? Should we not trust him? He was like being like tortured by the door guards, and like, okay, let's free him. And like, we spent like a good, like, what, 30 minutes, 40 minutes maybe talking to him, figuring out what we're gonna do. I was trying to annoy him. He was like, you know, all this stuff. And they were like, okay, let's go out this door. And then we opened the door facing a ballista that happened to miss all of us and kill the freaking mind flyer that we just like free.
Okay. So here's the thing. There were no rules set in place for freeing this mind flare. There was nothing like, oh well, if you heal it, it'll blah blah blah, stuff like that. So like when Robert's like, I'm gonna have Swift spend cure wounds, I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, okay, man, we can do.
I was wondering where they was gonna go. So the fact that there wasn't any like,
I mean, okay.
I just love that after like 45 minutes of like figuring out what to do with this mind flare, it just dies like that. Just dead.
Oh,
also, let me ask you, Andrew, did we just skip the whole freaking dungeon?
Yeah. You pretty much just made a beeline straight for the final boss. So
I figured, because I was like, man, I wonder what's in these doors, and everybody's just like, let's just go to these big double doors that it just so happened to be there. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. And then I see the guy we're looking for, and I'm like, oh wow.
I'm like, well, that's a shame.
Yeah, because I don't have that many spell slots anymore.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. I still have some though.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do have another session highlight that is actually part of the session, not like some like intergroup schism that we're gonna have to deal with next session. But okay, so you guys are fighting Nildar Sunblight in his like trophy room, and unbeknownst to you, he used a sending stone to bring up a Dwargar trauma team, essentially. And they're going like full SWAT. They throw out malice poison. The only person that gets blinded is Beery, who once again misses the fact that Octavio just blows up a room full of Dwargar. Which just I think this has to be like 4 and 4 that she misses Octavio using like crazy magic,
powerful spells. Yeah, she see me do some things, but every time I do something big, like big, she's just
never there,
oblivious. Yeah.
I mean, it's just this weird running gag that like we're not setting up. Like, no. I'm not fudging rolls or anything like that, or like meticulously like planning. I don't have that kind of intelligence. It's just the fact that it just every time Octavio does something cool, Beery is not there to see it.
Or she's there, but somehow she doesn't see it. Like, there's always something.
Yeah.
Either like she's like taking care of somebody else, or like in this case she was blind. Like, it's always something.
Like Octavio's gonna get the killing blow, and Beery's like, ooh, a penny, and misses it.
Oh man, yeah, that was funny.
Oh shit!
I took down all those Dwargers in like one shot.
Man, and I had that thing set up too. Like, these guys are gonna be bulletproof. Oh wait, no, fireball. Shit.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot about that.
I think I still have 2 fireballs. So
yeah, you're gonna need them.
Yeah, probably. It's just that the room we got into is so big. So like, can I take advantage of this?
No, you can't twin fireballs. I'm sorry. So
I'm gonna write on my rule book and just like scratch.
You didn't write in my rule book. That's all that matters.
Oh man. Whoa. All right. You got anything else, Andrew?
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Well, I hope you guys had a good time listening to me ramble about Cyberpunk. With that, man, I am dying to play Cyberpunk.
Same.
More than ever now. So maybe soon. Well, there's other RPGs that I want to talk about. I wanna.
Yeah,
I just almost dropped a big old candle on my screen. I wanna give this a read so I can talk about it. Death in Space. There's a couple more that I want to talk about, but I don't know. Do you, Andrew, want to hear more about Cyberpunk, or was this overview like enough?
No, I want more. Are you kidding me?
Okay, I might break it down into like combat, roles.
Right.
Like just go more in depth. Maybe those be shorter episodes. I don't know. We'll see.
That's fine by me. But like, no, I personally would enjoy doing a deep dive into this kind of stuff.
Cool.
Like,
then we are gonna do.
You're never gonna hear me say no to that.
They were definitely gonna do the Lancer, Cyberpunk, and then Beyond the Manual, and then loop that over and over.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah.
So
the next one is gonna be a Beyond the Manual.
I have plenty of time to make my notes about my mechs.
Oh man. All right. Well, everybody who joined us, thank you so much. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks. But if you wanna see our shenanigans live, make sure to tune in on Wednesdays for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
But with that, please make sure to, if you like, and comment below on YouTube and leave us a message or like us and subscribe and the bell and all that thing, wherever you're listening to or watching us through, because it means a lot to us, especially when you guys leave comments saying that we suck and whatever. But like, it still means a lot.
Man, we got fucking eviscerated for that Lancer episode.
But here we are. Oh, but yeah, with that, guys, thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. And as always, stay safe out there and keep on gaming.
Yeah.
Bye.